All Blacks pretty comfortable in the end. 46 points to 14 winners over Ireland. So that's both quarterfinals done on the Saturday. And both of the winners that hit 40 plus, well, 40 points or more. So, yeah, kind of a disappointing one if you're an Irish fan because they went behind pretty early for All Blacks. That was not really missing a beat after that cancelled game, so plenty to like about that All Blacks performance. I'll go over some of the key stats, maybe some of the areas where it went particularly right or wrong for both sides, and you guys can let me know your thoughts at the end. I mean, it started off pretty well, even from the anthems and whatnot. The crowd seemed overwhelmingly Irish at the start. Maybe that was just me, but there were a lot of people singing along. I see more for the Irish than for the New Zealand national anthem, but either way, the crowd was into it. It was a great atmosphere. First minute, New Zealand knock it on, and there's a scrum. It's solid from Ireland under, a good chance for the All Blacks to put on a bit of pressure. But it is solid. 4 minutes, Stockdale, he goes close for an intercept. He gets penalised for kind of a deliberate knockdown, but it wasn't one of those ones where he's like slapping the ball down. He was legit going for an intercept. Probably a bit too far for him to realistically gather, which is probably why he gets penalised, but I didn't think it was a cynical one. But imagine if he'd got that. Might have had the game on a bit of a different footing, but not to be. Mo'unga kicks a penalty, makes it 3 points to 0. You can tell at that point, All Blacks have done Kapuapango as their haka, so taking a penalty. This is a World Cup knockout game, and they're here to get a result. 14 minutes, Aaron Smith gets the first try of the game. It's a little sniping run from the back of a ruck. That makes it 10-0. 10-0, you're kind of thinking, all right, Ireland need to get themselves back into the game. They've been under the pump a fair bit. And they do get a penalty for some off-the-ball stuff from New Zealand. But Mo'unga is able to keep the penalty in. And there's several times New Zealand do that during the game. Able to keep the ball in from the sideline. So that was pretty costly for Ireland. It's like another missed chance. So you got a missed intercept, a missed kick at touch, and then they're punished a few minutes later because on 20 minutes, Aaron Smith gets a try. Again, it's a little thing from the base of the ruck. Bridge had the line break. It was all made by a good little offload to Reese in the build-up, and the offloads were definitely one of the key components for the All Blacks, you'd have to say. Good conversion out wide, and it's 17-0. Starting to look pretty bad for the Irish at that point because it's not easy to run the All Blacks down from 17 points. Beauden Barrett gets a little kick and chase through on 32 minutes. It's kind of got a little bit of the 2015 Rugby World Cup final against Australia feeling about it with a little, I think it's Mo'unga's kick first, but Barrett does a little soccer kick through as well and regathers. They do TMO check it to make sure it's not offside and there's no knock on in the build-up, but it's all good. And it's 24-0. Following that, Conor Murray knocks it on. He gets penalised for a high tackle. It's just New Zealand are doing everything right, and Ireland can't seem to catch a trick. Mo'unga, though, does have a poor kick at some point early on in the first half. Later on in the first half, and then it is pretty late here. It's 1:40 in the morning. Ireland, though, did just before the hooter, they turned down 3 points as they had a penalty. They get their line out. Reid gets penalised for a tackle off the ball again, but O'Mahony gets the penalty reversed for kind of a shoulder clean out. So, yeah, nothing really going Ireland's way in that first half. They go in 24-0 down, which is not a place you want to be against the All Blacks. The All Blacks are looking slick. As I said, that extra break time they had may have been of some benefit because there was a little bit of talk of rust, but there didn't seem to be much rust on that side, and they still maybe hadn't hit top gear. I'm not sure. Halftime stats, run meters 214 to 93. 214 to 93. Position was 50-50. Territory, All Blacks 57%. But here is the real stat of the first half, and it is tackles. So Ireland were at 85%, making 56 out of 66, which is pretty good. For internationals, you want to be in the mid-80s, and they are. The All Blacks at half-time, 99% tackle percentage. They were just swallowing up the Irish attack. the Irish didn't have a way of beating them. And the All Blacks defence has been beaten at times during the year. Look at South Africa, look at Australia, but Ireland didn't have the answers. And 74 out of 75 tackles for the All Blacks in their first half. Also knock-ons, New Zealand 3, Ireland 7. So just not as cohesive as you need to be in a World Cup quarter-final. Second half starts with Stockdale catching a ball in touch. So immediately not the best start for Ireland in the second half. It's another error. 48 minutes. The All Blacks go 9+ phases in the Irish 22. Reid gets tackled, has a magic offload from the floor to Taylor. He gets a try. It's 29-0. 58 minutes. The Irish get a penalty and once again miss touch. Mo'unga missed touch as well, but Ireland missed touch I think 3 times in this game, which is really disappointing. 61 minutes. Todd gets a try. It's the All Blacks, a big maul. Reese gets a cross kick from Mo'unga. He goes close, and then the next phase they're able to just pass it to Todd, who just basically has to fall over the line. That makes it 34-0. Carberry comes on. He gets a penalty where he gets to kick for touch and misses touch. It's a bit painful at that point. Although 67 minutes, Henshaw does go unbelievably close from a Carberry little chip through, and that's one thing he did add a bit of spark to the Irish attack in that little area around the All Blacks 22. Henshaw gets the kick. He just needs to grab it and force it, and he drops it cold. At that point, I'm convinced absolutely nothing is going to go right for the Irish, but I'm dead wrong because only like a minute later, guess who scores a try? It's Henshaw on 69 minutes. This one's from a little scrum move, and he gets the ball jinxed back and pretty much straight under. So 34 points to 7. But the All Blacks aren't done. Bridge does get a try from it's Coles with the offload to Bridge from turnover ball. Coles has got a bit of gas for a hooker, so it's 41-7. 76 minutes though, there's a penalty try for Ireland. So there's only the one conversion because penalty try you get automatic 7. It's a yellow card for Todd for being offside, preventing a try from being scored against the post. So that makes it 41-14, but then Jordie Barrett finishes with a try out wide to make it 46-14. So yeah, it's a lot of tries for a quarterfinal. Ideally, after watching Australia, England, and Ireland against New Zealand, you want these matches to be a bit closer. As an All Blacks fan, this match never really looked in doubt. So I mean, it's quite a comfortable watch, but in terms of the tension that you want to get, there's certainly a fair bit lacking in that because, yeah, the All Blacks were looking pretty comfortable. It's a pity that it was a bit one-sided, especially for some of the Irish guys who now bow out. But final stats, run meters 461 to 251. Possession finished 50-50. Territory finished 56-44, so not much different from the halftime stats. Tackling percentage, the All Blacks still were in the 90s, but at 93, so a bit of a drop, but still very, very, very good. Tackling rate 138 out of 149. Ireland were at 79%. For them, that's pretty low. Pride themselves on their defence, 108 out of 137. Penalties conceded, the All Blacks actually 12 to Ireland 6. That's one area of concern. Going into a match against England where Owen Farrell kicked everything that was in front of him, no matter where it was around the field. Knock-ons were 7 to 8, so Ireland were able to really get some better handling in that second half. The All Blacks, though, a few knock-ons. Key stat, though, overall, and maybe it also links into New Zealand's ability to really contain the Irish attack for large periods of the game. Offloads, New Zealand 16, Ireland 2. It's one area you feel like maybe that's another way you need to break down New Zealand's defence. And on attack, New Zealand were just going fast. They were not giving Ireland a chance to slow the ball down at ruck time. They just wanted to move things along, and that was pretty evident. So individuals, Bridge 104 run meters, 4 defenders beaten. Reese had 8 defenders beaten. The guy's a monster for a guy who's not that big. Savia had 14 out of 14 tackles. Best meter getter for Ireland was Stockdale with 28, which is not that flash. But one clean break, 2 defenders beaten. Stunder on defense had 18 out of 18 tackles, which is kind of what you want to see. But yeah, that's it. New Zealand through to the semis. It's another quarter-final loss for Ireland, which is pretty devastating for them. Joe Schmidt's time with Ireland is done. Rory Best as well. They interviewed him after the game, and he seemed pretty emotional, but credit to the fans who stood there cheering him on. After the team's just been beaten 46-14, they weren't leaving. They were still there supporting the team, so that's really encouraging for the guys. And I think they know this Irish squad, even though they've gone out here, you know, they've still done a lot for Irish rugby in terms of their work with the Six Nations and just like you know, becoming a real force in world rugby. Even if they go out disappointing this one for New Zealand, still the team to beat, man. I mean, England put in a good shift, and it's going to be an epic battle next week, but New Zealand look pretty bloody good. So yeah, we will see. I'm off to bed because, like I said, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. You guys let me know your thoughts on this performance. Players, how disappointed are you as Irish fans? How happy are you as New Zealand fans? Where do you think this game was kind of won and lost? And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.